What is going on, everybody? It's the Mighty Manotaur here. You're looking at my brother DK up in this corner. Say hi.
Hey, everybody.
This is already awkward because I can't see him.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to him, but you guys can see him. Mm-hmm. If everything went according to plan, which is why I'm offset, obviously, so he can be in his own little corner with his own
special
little
corner.
chair.
Yeah.
What is that, Cinderella?
Sure.
Musical references.
Oh, boy.
So we're here for a reason, not to be just weird, but we're going to be talking about some E3 stuff, games we think we might see, publisher-specific things, console-specific things, even some stuff more on like the tech side of hardware kind of things. Yeah. So I guess the best place for us to start, because we're both totally Sony fanboys, is if we start talking about Sony's press conference. And what we kind of think we're going to see there. So what have we already kind of been confirmed on, Kyle, that Sony's going to be showing?
Well, we'll definitely see some more of Order 1886. And that's a huge exclusive, first-party exclusive.
And now, what do you think? So this game, when it was revealed, it was slated to be a 2014 game. It was supposed to come out in the summer, and now it's been delayed somewhat. I mean, it still say 2014 now in the fall. Do you think that game's coming this year?
Quarter 4. You know, I think it will. It's been in development for a while.
Right.
I think because all of the major delays, I feel, have been announced already.
Okay.
They've announced them pre-E3 because I feel like they don't want to bog the show down by
a good point.
Sliding in some delay news.
Right.
So I think they're going to give us a solid holiday release for this year. Yeah, I think so. See,
and I'm for that on one hand because I want more games to play. Because of even like Watch Dogs was supposed to be a launch game on the consoles, and it's been delayed. It had been delayed like 4 freaking times, and I'm already I'm not picking it up day one just because of how many times it's been delayed. I'm not sure that it's going to pan out and be this amazing thing that they've already said. But specifically, like for the Order, that was one of those kind of tentpole PS4 games when they announced it. Like, hey, this is one of these next gen experiences that you're only going to get on a PS4. And now that it's been
the video they showed initially was technically crazy impressive.
Right. The CG
it was a hype.
trailer.
It was a hype
Absolutely,
thing.
Yeah.
But then, the fact that was delayed being a hype game, I mean, while not shocking, is still disappointing.
Yeah, totally. And like they came out and put out a gameplay trailer of it, and it was pretty underwhelming. And a lot of it, it was a poorly cut trailer. It cut back and forth between a lot of different like set pieces and dialogue there was no context, and it looked rough from a gameplay perspective. And so seeing that, I'm like, I'm not surprised they're delaying it. But do we think that just a couple more months is enough time for them, or is it a case where they had to go back to the drawing board for some stuff? That's my big question. So I definitely won't be surprised if we still see it this year. But honestly, if they needed to put it into next year to make it a better game, do it. Like,
so we're talking about Watch Dogs now?
No, The Order. No, I'm sorry.
The Order?
Well, Watch Dogs is coming out on the 20th. By the time you're seeing this, Watch Dogs is already out.
Right.
And we already now know if it's good or if it's not good. But for The Order, I mean. So for me, if it gets pushed to 2015, if that's going to make it a better game, I'm okay with it. You don't agree. This is why this is fun.
I need games.
Yeah,
my PS4 is a Netflix machine. Mm-hmm. You know, I will, as much as I would like to say quality of game over everything else, I need to be able to play it, man.
Sure.
Like, I'm bored out of my mind. I'm downloading GameCube ROMs on my computer and playing them because I don't have a PS4 game to play.
There are plenty of games for you to play on PS4. That's a whole other conversation. Because I mean,
well, I've already played them.
I'm playing Infamous. I'm playing Child of Light. I'm starting Transistor. There are plenty of games to be playing right now.
That's true. I do need to play Transistor.
Yeah.
That's
true. But I understand what you're saying. As far as the big
games,
tentpole
$60
AAA releases,
buy it on a disc games.
Because I mean, the most recent game of that was Infamous, which didn't interest you, and now currently it's Watch Dogs, which at the time of this recording, it's still not out yet. I mean, it comes out tomorrow when we're recording this, but there has been, I mean, a little bit of drought because Infamous came out at the end of March, and that's been it. So it's been 2 months since a big PS4 game, right?
Yep.
That's pretty crazy. So I'm with you on that. I definitely want more games. On the other side of it, and I don't want to bog down on 1886 too much, but on the other side of it, so many games release in the fall, man. And there are going to be tons of games on last gen too that are coming out. Like on PS3, that are games that are coming out in the fall that we're going to... I'm sick of every game ever coming out October through December. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, okay. That's enough of 1886. We've already spent 5 minutes talking about that. So what else has been confirmed as far as like exclusives for Sony to show?
I mean, this hasn't been like confirmed, but Uncharted 4, like it's happening.
That's kind of the biggest question mark, I think, for Sony. I mean, for me, they have to show something.
If they want a strong E3 show, they need to show Uncharted at some point.
People are already freaking out about Uncharted with Amy Hennig leaving, like all the creative director leaving, whatever it was, like the sound guy, the voice actor in that first trailer is no longer going to be in the game. Like, there's some worrying things going on at Naughty Dog right now, and they are objectively one of the best developers in the industry. No one could argue against that. Even if you don't particularly care for the Uncharted games or didn't really care for The Last of Us, in terms of quality games, you can't argue that they're not one of the best in the business.
Yeah, in terms of crafting an immersive universe and storytelling and just flat out getting game mechanics right. Like, which a lot of developers still have issues with.
Absolutely.
I definitely think they're in my top list of developers in the industry currently.
Like, people kind of having this, like apocalyptic scenario where they think that Naughty Dog is going to crash and burn and no longer exist in a year is crazy.
Yeah, Sony won't let that happen. There's no way.
No, I think it's more something where they were making Uncharted, their new Uncharted game, under Amy Hennig and whoever else, whatever the creative director guy's name was, and they want to take it in a new direction. Neil Druckmann, the head of the Last of Us game, because they have two separate teams at Naughty Dog, he's now in charge of the Uncharted games. And I think that when he came on board, he wanted to switch things up in some way, and that didn't match up with what Amy Hennig wanted and those people wanted. So they kind of had this mass exodus of the old school Naughty Dog people, and now it's just kind of a resurgence of more than newer Naughty Dog people. And I don't think that has to be a bad thing. I mean,
new's not always bad.
These people that have leaving Naughty Dog are already moving on to great things. I mean, a game we'll get to hopefully it'll probably be an hour at the point of this is going. In a couple of videos we'll get to. But Amy Hennig is now working at Visceral, working on their Star Wars game. Like, I could not be more excited about that. She's a brilliantly talented person. She doesn't need to keep working on Uncharted. Uncharted needs a fresh, new perspective that she isn't going to be able to give. She's going to give her perspective to a freaking Star Wars game made by the people that made Dead Space. That sounds freaking awesome to me. So all these people being stressed out that this Uncharted game is going to suck and all this kind of stuff are crazy. With that being said, because all these people are saying this, they have to show us something. They have to have some kind of trailer. It's probably not going to be a gameplay trailer because of how much they've had to redo, but they have to show some kind of new teaser to make people go, okay, this still looks awesome, you know?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah. Whether or not that's going to happen, like I'm not 100% saying I think that's going to happen because I'm sure they went back to the drawing board on a lot of stuff. I don't know that they're going to have anything ready to show us, but I think they need to.
Yeah. I mean, Sony makes too much money off of them to let them sit this one out. I think it's a pretty. I would say in the vein of a 90% probability that we'll see something Uncharted related,
right?
From my perspective, at least.
Well, and that being said, too, I mean, Naughty Dog, they are working on that up-res port of Last of Us for PS4, so there's a possibility that we might see something in that vein. That I wouldn't be particularly interested in.
Me neither.
This kind of porting late gen PS3 and Xbox
It's
games
weird.
to the new consoles. Yeah.
It's a space filler. It's a space filler is all it is.
I mean,
because they don't have these new titles.
That's totally part of it from a business side, but I think that also part of it is, especially on the PS4, the PS4 is a lot of people's first Sony console.
That's very true.
Because a lot of people came from having an Xbox, having a 360, going, fuck, I don't want to connect, I don't want to pay $500, so they buy a PS4, so they missed out on Uncharted, they missed out on The Last of Us, and those kinds of things. And a lot of them, too, like, this is their first console, period. So they missed out on games like Tomb Raider, they missed out on games like Mass Effect, and that's why these late-gen, already gorgeous games are being ported over. I don't think that those games are really for people like you and I, and probably the people that are watching this video that are hardcore gamers and have had consoles. Those games, I think, are geared towards people that haven't experienced them at all, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can agree with that.
With that being said, I'm totally picking up the Mass Effect PS4 collection because any excuse to go back and play those games. Like, I had no interest in the Tomb Raider one. I'm not going to replay The Last of Us. Like, I just played those games a year or two ago.
More trophies.
Yeah, but
you can get trophies again that you've already gotten.
Sure. At a certain point, getting trophies isn't enough reason to play a game, especially when you have as little free time as we do.
Yeah, very true.
So, another game that I think that they kind of have to show something on to kind of alleviate people's fears is Drive Club.
Yeah,
good
God.
Game, which I personally have no interest in, and honestly, I don't think very many people do have an interest in, because there are so many racing games out there.
There are a crap ton of them.
And it's already a pretty niche market, I would think. And they already, the last Gran Turismo didn't sell nearly as well as the previous games did, so I think we're already seeing a decline. Forza, I don't think, did super well on Xbox One, even though it was a launch game. But that's another case where the game's been delayed a couple of times. They kind of went back to the drawing board, and now they have this new release date, and they have to show something to tell people, hey, this game is still in good shape. The changes we've made are for the better of the game. So
yeah, and a new Gran Turismo, whether or not they even make one, that'll be a long way off. So I wouldn't expect to see a Gran Turismo title at the show. If anything, we'll see Drive Club.
Right, and I wouldn't think that they're going to show two racing games.
Right.
Because
Drive Club, I figured they'd probably show one or the other, and I would say Drive Club
of the two, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see another Gran Turismo, but not until next year, maybe even after that. But the fact that they released the last one on the PS3 instead of waiting for PS4 had a lot of people upset just because they want to see them next gen, car porn. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something about that. Maybe GDC or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what else do we have? Sony first party studios are working on.
The new IP, Guerrilla.
Yeah.
Guerrilla Games,
makers of Killzone.
The Shadowfall.
Yeah. They've been teasing, they've said that they're working on another game that is not Killzone. And the rumor has been that it's an RPG because they hired on, I think it was the lead writer from Fallout New Vegas, to their studio. They hired him on to their studio. So that kind of just lends credence to the fact that they're going to be writing or creating some kind of open world RPG, which I think would be awesome. I think that they're a talented studio. Killzone, I liked Killzone 1 at the time. I mean, that was a PS2 game. But Killzone 2 I really enjoyed. Killzone 3, the story,
it was okay.
I didn't love it. Killzone Shadowfall was gorgeous and fun to play.
Oh my God!
The story of
beautiful.
To me, didn't do anything for me.
But
then bringing on someone who specializes in crafting that kind of RPG story, I would hope that it's going to help them out a lot. So I would love to see something from them in that realm, because that's a total departure. Even if it's more of a Fallout 4-esque, or I should say Fallout period-esque game where it's still a first-person shooter, but an RPG, I think totally is in their capabilities and right in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think so too. They've been... Killzone has traditionally been a pretty structured environment, but they do have areas where there are multiple pathways you can choose, different ways to approach situations.
Yeah.
And at least within the last couple of them. And especially with Shadowfall, the areas are bigger, more beautiful. I think their ability to craft an open world environment. I think we saw a small nugget of that in Shadowfall, with that team's level of talent, being kind of pushed there, and so I'm excited to see where those skill sets take them for their new IP. I'm interested to see what it's called at the very least.
So, I mean, what do you think? Do you think they're gonna announce that at E3 this year?
I don't know what.
Because at the end of the day, they only have so many minutes in their conference. Right. And, I mean, the list of games that we have here is way too many for them to actually show. I'm kind of leaning towards no, just because they just put out Killzone at the end of last year at the launch of the console.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, even if they have two teams, which I don't know that they do, I would assume they probably do, but this game can't be ready to ship this year.
No,
maybe not even
probably
next
not
year.
Even next year. No.
So what is the other than just saying, hey, we have a bunch of games coming down the pipe? There's not a whole lot of benefit for them to tease it now, when the chances that it could still be delayed, it could still totally change. I have to think that they're still in like the kind of pre-production phase of that game. So I tend to lead towards no, that it will be at the conference, but I would love for it to be.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what that developer has in store for us. But I agree with you. There's certainly a time limit that they have to stay within. And I'm trying to think of how to word this. They already have new IPs. They're quote unquote new, like the Order 1886 and Drive Club. Those are new IPs,
right?
Even though we know of them, they haven't been released yet. So I don't know if they necessarily will feel pressured to reveal something else that they could potentially save for next year or some other conference. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see it.
The only thing on the other side of that, and that kind of goes with a lot of these unannounced games, is that people are complaining that there's a lack of games.
Yeah.
And it could, if they come out and tease 4 or 5 new IPs, even if they're not coming out for 2 years, that tells people our studios are working on games. These games are coming out. Because from our perspective,
but people know that games are in the works. Like they know they're coming out. They just, cause last year's E3 was the year of announcements. That's all it was. It was just a year of new IPs and exciting news and stuff with
and
no
the consoles.
Real details. Yeah. With like no real substance behind it. It was just like, hey, we're doing this stuff. I feel like this year has to have more substance. It has to have more in-depth details. It has to be more about the finer parts of the games that we're going to be seeing within the next 365 days.
So more of just updates on games that have already been announced versus new game announcements.
Right, and updates on games can be just as exciting.
Oh,
as
for
new
sure,
announcements.
absolutely. I mean, because so many games that they teased last year that we'll get into in a minute, I cannot freaking wait for, and all I want to do is see more about those games.
Right.
So showing me just like a logo is cool, but
it's not going to get me that sense of excitement that I would have.
Yeah.
Like knowing more about the games I'm already excited about.
Exactly.
So I think that needs to be much more of a primary focus this year, and I think they know that, and I think that'll be the case.
Yeah. So one of the other big franchises that we haven't heard from in a little bit is the God of War franchise.
Yeah.
Now, after Ascension, it sold moderately well, but kind of got mediocre reviews, and it's just the general sense that people were burnt out of the series, and their new kind of try and multiplayer thing was a great idea, but its execution wasn't super strong, and people just didn't really have as much of an interest in it, and it definitely didn't have a whole lot of longevity for the series.
No, not at all.
So what do you think? Do you think that Santa Monica takes a break from God of War for a while? Do you think that they even pass it on to another studio for the next God of War game? What do you think is going to happen with that franchise?
Well, I mean, they had some layoffs at the studio, and that studio's been assisting with 1886.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see anything else from them at this E3. I mean, they have to have something in the works. Every game developer does. They can't just be assisting with another game.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see it at this E3. I don't think whatever they have that they're working on or brainstorming is at a stage where they can even safely announce it yet. I mean, because the worst thing you can do is announce you're making a game and then not make it.
Yeah.
Especially a studio like Santa Monica,
sure.
which people have a lot of respect for, and a lot of crap. What's the word?
Respect.
Oh, respect.
They have a lot of respect. They have a lot of respect. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Most of all, they have a lot of respect.
They're one of Sony's premier first-party studios.
Yes.
So they have to be working on something. If it's God of War, if it's a new IP. I personally, and this is one of my biggest problems with the industry in general, franchises don't die. They go on until no one buys them anymore. They never get to go out on a high note. And I don't want to see that happen to God of War, because I loved God of War 1 through 3, never played Ascension because I didn't have any interest in it. The trilogy was a full story. I didn't want to hear a prequel. I didn't want to get some side mission story. I didn't care. And that's kind of how I feel about another God of War game. I just don't care about it. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are the same.
Yeah, I love God of War so much. I have a licensed Blade of Chaos on my shelf right over there. Like, that's how much I love God of War. Like, that is absolutely one of my favorite, like, kind of a, heavy hit, light hit type of combo games. Mm-hmm. Just beat them up. It was unlike anything else when I got that first demo disc where you fight the Hydra.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that was
unlike anything
insane.
I had played. Yeah, absolutely crazy. And I feel comfortable leaving it where it lies. But like you said, they never let them die gracefully.
Yeah, all you can really hope for that is that they'll give it a couple of years.
Yeah,
which is kind of what I'm hoping. Where they had Ascension, it wasn't received particularly well. We'll just give it a couple of years until people are saying, what I miss? God of War. Because right now, no one thinks that.
Nobody says that at all.
No one's asking for a new God of War game.
No.
So yeah, that one I'm pretty confident in saying we're not going to see anything from.
Yeah.
At E3. I guess Media Molecule is the other big one. Did they officially announce their new game? Because I know they had a rumored game for a while, for like a couple of months now, that they were working on next gen, and I think it might have been confirmed. I probably should have done my research more, but I think it's been confirmed that they're working on like an Oculus game, or not an Oculus game, a Project Morpheus game.
Okay. Was that the tech demo? Project Morpheus?
Maybe. I saw it when I was at work, so I didn't really look into it.
Okay, because I know they assisted in that tech demo from last year's E3. That might have been Project Morpheus. I don't remember what the name of it was. But then they released Tearaway on the Vita, which was amazing, by the way. Yeah. I played the crap out of that. I beat it in like 3 days. I only played that game. It was awesome. I don't know. 'Cause Little Big Planet also one of those games where no one is asking for another one.
Yeah, and and Media Molecule came out and said, we're not making another Little Big Planet game next.
Right.
We are doing something different. So,
but was that before Tearaway?
No.
No, it was after. So. Okay.
Yeah, because that was kind of sort of a side project for them because it's a Vita game and no one owns Vitas. They are definitely working on a PS4 game, and I can pretty much 100% say that it's not a Little Big Planet game. So whatever it is, I'm curious to see. If they have announced that thing, I know I read somewhere that it was a Project Morpheus game, or at least tied into it in some way. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all at E3, because they're going to have some stuff on Project Morpheus in their conference.
Yeah.
You don't think?
Honestly, no.
Really?
I don't. I mean, Media Molecule has always been present at E3. I think I don't remember an E3 where they weren't there. I just have this feeling we won't see them this year. Well, I don't know what it is.
I guess I'm saying specifically about the Project Morpheus.
Okay.
That, I mean, they're going to have something there about it in their conference. That's kind of their new push. Because the whole Kinect thing, PlayStation Eye, whatever, camera stuff, is kind of fallen off. People aren't super interested. And the Oculus Rift is gaining a ton of traction after being bought by Facebook and all this kind of stuff. And so they came out and released or announced the Project Morpheus. So I think that they show something about that virtual reality thing, just to get people talking about it. I don't care about it, but I've always heard that Oculus is one of those things that you say you don't care about it, then you try it, and you're totally blown away. So obviously, having never tried it, I can't speak from that perspective, but I definitely don't care about it. My mind could absolutely be changed if I used it, but at least for right now, I don't care. But I do think that they'll have something Project Morpheus at their conference.
I'm not interested in the Oculus unless it's paired with the Omni multi-directional treadmill. That's the only thing
like full immersive VR.
Oh yeah, that's the only kind of VR I'm interested in.
They'd have to find something where you wouldn't have a controller to make it fully immersive.
Yeah.
Last big thing on my side that we kind of haven't talked about. Wait, where was it here? If Quantic Dream is working on anything?
Ooh. Yeah, well, because... crap, what was the name of the game they just released?
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls, thank you. Did not do that well. So... that's tough.
Because, I mean, they showed their tech demo last year.
Right.
Just to show, like, the power of the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
They're obviously working on something. But who knows if it's in any place to show. I don't think we'll see anything from them just because, like, they had that tech demo last year just as a, look how cool the PS4 thing is. But if they had, like they did with, didn't they do that, like, robot chick one the year before?
Yes, yeah,
So
and then the year before that was the Heavy Rain one with the girl who was crying.
Yeah, like the interview
had the
or the like audition thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll see a new game announcement from them. I really don't think we'll see anything from them at all, honestly.
I don't think so either.
And then the last kind of obligatory one that we have to talk about, unless you have anything else.
I don't think so.
The Last Guardian.
Oh, man. Now I'm depressed.
Every year, people are like, this is the year, man. This is it. This is the year they show it. And they have said, definitely, they are still working on that game. They said it is real. They are working on it. If like...
But what is it now? What is the game now?
No idea.
Ugh.
No idea. I mean, I hate to play that game, but I feel like if it is a game, this is the year that they show it. Because everyone is always asking about it. Everyone is.
It's an
E3,
internet joke.
Yeah,
it's a meme.
Like every E3, people ask about it, and that was the same thing with Final Fantasy Versus 13 when it was still Final Fantasy Versus 13, and then last year they said, "Bam, Final Fantasy 15, bitches. This is what it's been." I feel like that's what they're going to do with The Last Guardian now. Even if it's kind of a different game, I think they go, "Fuck you, Last Guardian." I think this is their one more thing, like their last little video. Like as the whoever's Andrew House or whoever is running the press conference is walking off. He's like, "Oh yeah, we forgot. We have one more thing we want to show you guys." Roll the clip. Freaking
it's Last Guardian.
Yeah, bird
griffin thing.
Yeah, whatever the hell it was. Little anime kid. Boom, Last Guardian. Coming 2015.
No, coming out next week.
Available now.
Available now. You walk into the store, it's already there.
Yeah. But I really do. I do. As cliche as it is, and as everyone else is still saying the same thing as me, I really do think that we're going to see it. I really do.
I just have no faith in anything anymore.
I don't know that I care. I don't care nearly as much about it as I did when they announced it.
Yeah.
But I do think that they're going to put it out. That we're going to see some kind of trailer for it this year. And to kind of show how it's changed. And I think the reason it took so long is, one, because they had to change a lot of stuff. And then they just decided, hey, let's make it a next-gen game. And that's why has been that extra year in between where we haven't heard anything. I think that's part of why it's taken so long.
Could be.
Yeah. Last thing I wanted to talk about that I think we will absolutely see is PlayStation Now information. The Sony, their new gaming streaming service, like Netflix
the beta is
games.
now on PS4.
Yeah. It's a closed beta. You have to be invited to it.
Yeah, you have to apply. Yeah.
I think that this is where they release the details, like how much games are going to cost, how long that you're able to rent.
Recommended internet speeds.
Yeah, what kind of
like
games are going to be available when it launches. I think that they go in depth on PlayStation Now, because I think it's going to launch at towards the end of the summer, like August is when I see that.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think
in time for it to be up and running and have a user base by holiday.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of it I have for Sony. You have to imagine they're going to spend some small portion of time on the Vita for games that are coming to the Vita. No one owns it. There's I
got mine for free, so.
and you like it, right?
Absolutely. It's not worth the entry price, though.
Right.
But I do love it.
People that own Vitas play a ton of games on it. From an outside perspective, people are like, well, there's just no games to play on it. That's totally not true. There are tons of games to play on it. It's just that there are no huge AAA games anymore.
Right.
And they had that last big push with Borderlands 2 on the Vita.
Yes.
And it got pretty bad reviews. Yeah. I think it still sold pretty well, probably, and moved some new units. But it didn't. It didn't turn out to be the kind of game that people wanted it to be, because the Vita is just not as powerful as the PS3. You're not going to get those same experiences. I mean, people they want Infamous 1 and 2 to be ported to the Vita. They want Fallout on the Vita, and there's no way the Vita can handle those games.
No.
They just can't. Borderlands is a fraction of the size of Fallout, and they already had to trim down how many enemies you fight, the graphical fidelity, the draw distance, the particle effects. To try to do that with Fallout, there's just no way. So I don't know, man. I think that Borderlands 2 was their last-ditch effort to try to get a big third-party game ported to the Vita. And based upon how it did, I don't think we're going to see any more.
No, I think Vita is going to become an obscure console for
indie games.
For indie games and Japanese titles like JRPGs and stuff like that. It's going to be another PSP.
If there was one last hope for them to try to do something, it would be a first-party game. If they made an Infamous specifically for the Vita. Not a port, but like a new Infamous game for the Vita.
And the Assassin's Creed game they made for the Vita is Liberation. This was back when I worked at GameStop, but all the people that came in that were your regulars and everything, people that I knew had Vitas, I'd ask them about it, and they all really liked Liberation. They said it was a lot of fun to play. It looked good. It felt good when you played it, and the story was cool. I think that one's a little overlooked by a lot of people, but not a lot of people have Vitas.
That game also came out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What has there been in between?
Well, Killzone. Killzone came out
Killzone,
a year
Mercenaries,
ago.
And that game
Mercenaries was awesome.
Supposedly really good. Sure.
It was awesome.
But again, first party game though.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about. I don't think we're going to see any more third party games, big third party games on the Vita. I just don't. And that's a bummer. But
on the other side of that, coin, Sony spent a lot of time the past couple of years acquiring new studios. Okay. So what is now first party for Sony has expanded a lot in the past couple of years. So just saying that it'll mainly be first party games and weird indie games isn't necessarily as limiting as that
sure.
idea once
that,
might have
yeah,
been.
I'm not saying that is a bad thing. For people
Sure.
that don't own Vitas, they're not going to buy a Vita for those kinds of games. That's the problem, because at the end of the day, they want to move units. They make way more money selling a Vita than they do selling a game.
Right. Well, and this is America, and we don't have the internet infrastructure that Japan has. And I know in Japan the Vita sells like freaking hotcakes, man. A lot of people have Vitas in Japan.
Definitely better than in the U.S., but it has been trending downwards pretty drastically.
Yeah. Well, that's usually the case with most consoles is sales decrease over time, and the Vita's been out for a while.
Yeah,
so.
And a lot of it is, I mean, going kind of down a rabbit hole here, but the games market in Japan is just changing drastically because of phone games are a lot more proliferous over there than they are here. And most people, like on the trains over there, are not playing their 3DS or their Vita anymore. They're playing games on their phone. Yeah. And that's just, even the PS4 hasn't sold that well in Japan. Because, well, part of it is because they didn't get a lot of the same games that we got at launch, but more so that just consoles in general aren't selling as well because phones are so much bigger. Hardcore gamers are getting their fix playing on phones, and that's not really what's happening in the U.S. Plenty of casual people are playing phone games, but in terms of the hardcore community, we're not really making that transition. I don't really see us making that transition ever.
Yeah.
But yeah. I guess that's it for the Sony stuff. That was quite a long chat. We're gonna.
Well, third-party Sony Destiny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll get to those third-party games in another video because this is already closing in on 40 minutes, and we've only talked about Sony. So
yikes!
We're gonna break here. Take a little break for us to kind of chat about some stuff, and we'll see you guys back. I haven't decided if I'm going to upload these as separate videos or as one big, long thing, so maybe we'll see you after a couple seconds, or maybe we'll see you in a couple of days in the next video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.